Are again, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome in. Thank you all for your patience. We're back.
Hey,
Leah is
fam.
back. I think you should give her a hand. She was under the weather. That's what I told y'all last time. So give her an applause. She once again is here. So I just want to go ahead, like as people are coming in, I never want to miss the chance to address the first comment. It's always the first comment. I want to bring it up right now. Sir.
Hi.
Oh, there is a comment. Okay, I was about to make a joke, but there really is a comment now. So
It's C.
C is the first one here, and I see you.
Khadijah.
I see you. I see you. So shout out to everybody that is in here right now.
Ashley, Jazzy Jazz,
As you
USA
see,
Baines.
as you see, there is a interesting title to this video, and we will be getting into that. But much love to everybody for being so early for Cross After Dark.
Ooh.
Leah is here, y'all. I'm going to give her an applause again.
Hey, fam.
Our girls are in bed. They were just arguing out loud about who spit on whose pillow. I didn't even want to get into it. I heard their door open. I told them, I'm sorry, we're doing a live. We can't be your parents after 8 o'clock. And they went to bed. And that's the best way to parent. You still deserve, as a parent, you still deserve a cutoff time. And I think that the kids have to understand that too, right? I am a father from 6:30 in the morning till about 8 o'clock. And then after that, I cut it off. But the nieces are doing good. Your nieces are doing good. Yes.
They are doing very good. Amala went on a field trip yesterday and had a fabulous time.
Yes.
And then Nayeli, let me tell you about your girl.
Hold on 1 second, man. Phil Maddock is acting like I be hiding you. I don't be hiding my beautiful wife.
Oh,
she be hiding herself.
That's true.
No. She was a little under the weather. That's why she took some time off. But she is here just for y'all. Yes, people saying, Leah, people are excited.
Hello, Naya. Is it Naya Love?
Yep.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I didn't mean to cut you off. You go on and go ahead.
Oh, no. It's fine. So Nayeli has been working really, really hard with her reading and her sight words, because she's in kindergarten. And this girl in class, in her small group, read aloud to her, to the classroom tutor. And she did great. So me and her were like running around the house, just having a great time. She said I gave her 2,300 kisses, and she is correct. I was so ecstatic. So I'm gonna be telling the grandmommies and Mimi and Grandpa and Papa about what she did. But I'm just so happy, and she was so happy, and so they're doing good. Your nieces are doing very, very good.
That's a good thing. Hey, she is a mommy to her core, right? I mean, she is like, one thing I can say about Leah is she's always been good about very vocally, through images, through presence, like giving the girls a lot of love, like a lot of that physical affection, that, like the extra excitement, the running around with them. Like if they achieve a thing, she is right there giving them so much love. And I appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate you, baby.
I promise I'm not going to sit here and keep using this applause over and over again. It's like, what am I doing? But yeah, I think it's a great thing. And I'm glad that y'all are proud of your little cousins, nephews, and all of that too.
Oh, USA Baines. Who was it? Someone, his son. Your son just started learning to read. Oh, that's great.
Yep. This is wonderful. Yeah.
Oh.
So it's good, like starting off with good news. To have a video called I Failed, it definitely is good to start off with some great news, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into the deeper stuff. So, Leah, how did you want to start? And I'm asking you that because I know you told me Leah's acting like we don't talk beforehand. We already talked. She was like, She had a whole scripture in her phone, right? And this goes regardless, right? Right? You wanted to do the love? No, that was just for yourself. I'm sorry, y'all. That's not how we're gonna start this off. No.
No, no, no. Well, what it was, I told LaGuardia I was going to follow his lead, but he had, we've been talking about the whole AI thing and how there's a lot of commentary out there about,
The end of the world is what it
yeah,
seems like,
like what are
right?
the implications of it and these like very fast, massive rollouts of different things. And so, like, the last thing we saw last night, well, not the last thing, but like one of the things we saw last night was about the digi dogs. Russell Brand, he at first, like, he did an earlier segment of like maybe a month ago about them, and he called them clip clop, and we've been like rolling over that. And so anyway, it was these robotic dogs and some other policing robots basically are being rolled out in New York. And I know a few years ago it was tried, they tried to roll it out and there was just all this public backlash. And, now they're trying to kind of like slowly do it again. Like, here it is, and we're going to market it different. And, there's also a lot of commentary just in general of a lot of people like, is it the end of the world? Is it, this doomsday dooming kind of like it's all. Oh,
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting stuff ready in the background. While she talks, I'm like
no, it's
getting some
okay.
technology ready.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And so, there's this kind of like negative implications of like what's going on and what's happening, and there's just so much it's almost like the things that are happening in these like massive chunks of time, and they're very condensed, and there's a lot of things that I think are pulling a lot of our attention in terms of all these. I don't want to say distractions, but distractions that obviously have very real life application to all of our lives. And, me and him have been going back and forth, like, personally, in terms of like, what does this really mean and what could it mean? And, you know, my thing, and I think I could speak for both of us, is that technology, along with anything that we create, is always going to be a reflection of us, right? And especially those who are creating it. And so I think that history has shown itself to be, I don't know, maybe a collection of cycles that have been repeated, right? Slavery in America is not a new concept. It wasn't a new concept then. And, from biblical times and before then, slavery as a way of existence and a way of instilling power and control over people is quite ancient, right? And yet in our history there are multiple cycles of how it's presented itself, and the most recent one being slavery in the U.S. in America, and yet that was also a global phenomenon at that time. And it still touches us now in ways that are very deeply embedded now at this point in our psyche. How we even show up in the world, we're still kind of having remnants and residue of that. It's not this open and shut case. And yet there's also multiple facets of how it touches our society and our economy, how we relate to each other, our community, all of those things. And not just us as a people, as Black people, but people of color, and then just poor people. Theo Vaughn did this, he's a comedian who did a special on Netflix, and
Now, really, really
oh, I'm
quick,
sorry.
because no.
Oh,
I'm
too
not cutting
much.
you off. No, it's not too much at all. What I wanted to do, because I am catching up to what Leah
Oh,
said
yes.
earlier. I just want to
Yes.
play you all a quick clip. I know it's like kind of in the middle of everything, and then we're gonna get
No, 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 you
right
go
to what
ahead.
Leah just said, because I wanted you all to see this. If you haven't already seen it, just to get your feedback on this, to see what y'all think.
Sure.
really quick, and then we're gonna get into why we even called this video I failed, right? So check this out really quick.
New York's police department showed off some futuristic crime-fighting tools today. The most controversial new technology is actually making a comeback. DigiDog was first seen in the city 2 years ago. At the time, it was public backlash, with some seeing it as a futuristic version of over-aggressive policing. NYPD says
Now, really quick, I don't know if you all have followed Boston Dynamics and the little dancing dog stuff that they used to do in the past, but I was somebody that I would watch that. They usually would have the dog out there, like popular music would be playing, and the robot is dancing, kind of like getting us ready for what's coming. Like, hey, it's a cute little dog. It don't really look like a dog, but it has legs, but they're calling it a dog. It's Spot. So, hey, this is all cool. So everything was all fun and games. And I used to see videos of this for the past 7 years. And now I don't really see the dog dancing anymore.
that the dog will only be used in highly dangerous situations like
Only for the highly dangerous situations, right? Doesn't that make y'all feel safe?
terrorist acts, bomb threats, and hostage standoffs. The department also showed off K5, that is a 5-foot, 400-pound security robot that will soon be patrolling Times Square and the subway.
Well, Justice.
Hey man, I don't know about y'all, but I think it's very interesting to be in a place where we already have concerns about authority at levels like this, but sometimes at the end of the day, we can feel like, well, at least there's people. I mean, we already have questions enough about people, right? We don't always trust human beings, but you hope that beneath all the layers of whatever it is they've been going through in their life, there is a heart there, right? And you would hope that there would be empathy and other things, or at least if you fight hard enough and long enough, there's people that can have a change of heart. I don't know how that happens with a dog, with a robo dog that was already sent on a mission, only in the most dangerous situations to come and break up or stop whatever you're trying to do. And I don't know what happens during a malfunction. They were supposed to come and just carry out a simple task, but something went wrong and they didn't mean for anybody to die. Like it's just, it gets real weird when we start getting into this zone. And yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are, Leah. I mean, I know what your thoughts are because we talk about this stuff a lot. Yeah, but yes.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, not even malfunctioning is like my fear, or not,
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
not the fear, but like my concern is what when the programmers are programming a hostile situation, how are they defining it, right? We can't escape the fact that our humanity is going to still infiltrate systems. And even, like I was saying, the thing about history showing the patterns, the cycles that are often replicated, and that behind those cycles, there's been civilizations that have come and gone, in the span of human existence on in this world. And so you had the Roman Empire, and you had the Ottoman Empire, the Mongolian, all these, incredible empires that ruled and all this stuff, had the power and all those types of things, and yet they themselves had a beginning and an end. And within that time, they had systems. And I'm not saying that all their systems failed. However, their ending, you can't help but consider that there was glitches in at some points, that the people enforcing and creating these systems it was not working out. And I'm not saying that a good empire means one that will last forever. I get that there's a process of time and how that works here, and that's a bit abstract. However, what I'm saying is there's still humans behind these computers, and those humans are still we are still impacted by their experiences of how they see the world, how they see humans, and how they see humanity in general. And so, although I can, maybe tag along in the fear of like, oh my gosh, AI, this and that, I think what it still comes back to is like, what are the hearts beating that are making these things? Because I feel like that's where the change comes. And so I did have the scripture because, love is like, it's my favorite thing. And out of the whole text of the Bible, I have to say the most complete scripture, that I love to reference the most is the one about love. Because as maybe opposite on the spectrum of like AI, super technology, love can seem like so low and, unimportant. However, I feel that because of that deficit of love on a very global, deep scale, we are at the mercy of another system that stands to potentially not have our best interests at heart, because the hearts beating that are creating these systems are also in a deficit of love. You know what I mean?
And really quick to
Yeah.
piggyback on that, it ties into what the title of the video is, right? I've been thinking a lot about personal failures of mine, but I also think about the fears that we can have of the failure of this world, right? What happens if everything collapses and all the plans that we have as a people come crashing down on us, right? If AI were to take over, if things get out of hand, if we can't stand up and fight for ourselves, we have to come up against stuff. It's just, there's so much fear that can happen when you start thinking about all of the possibilities that can happen. We've heard about the economic collapses. There's just so many different levels that can cause fear. But for Leah and I both, yeah, that thing of love has been a foundational thing in our lives for a very long time. And it's a motivation, truthfully, of why we're even doing these lives. Like, we're wanting to connect to y'all, but we're also seeing out there in the world, as people are grabbing weapons and figuring out new reasons to fight each other, we're seeing the incredible lack of love throughout everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, it starts with us. Like, I think mental health has shown us both that, yeah, lack of love can start within you. And so that has to get right. Then you have to take that and spread it out to others. And so, yeah, somebody already said, if people can't get right in themselves, if we can't get right as a people, how are we going to make any technology that's going to solve anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because it, truly, that in essence is us as humans, as spirit taking on the human experience. There's a few things a few quotes that I think about. There's this guy, Andy Petro, I think his name, and he does have a video on YouTube, and he was explaining his near death experience in like such beautiful detail. And one of the things he had said is that when he was, when he was out of his body, a message that was like coming to him was the idea that the beauty of being human is that you get to experience beginning and end. Because in essence, when we are out of these bodies, we just are. There is no time. There is no here, there, there's no direction. You just exist, right? Which is in essence, like source. And however you identify in that way. And, he was saying like when we're a baby, when you're spirit, you don't know what it's like when you began. You don't know what it's like when you died, because that's not necessarily like how things are. You just are. We just exist. And I think that the beauty of one of those things, like even though I can find that very, very difficult as a living being to kind of like come to terms with, we do have an ability to, with our free will, to say, this is not okay. let us make another thing better, you know? And I feel like oftentimes that very thing, that ability to do that, is often what's stolen from us. Not even people of color, or not just people of color, but women, poor people, children, you know, the ability to say, to have the freedom, the free mind, the free body, the sovereign ability to say, this is not okay. Let's make another thing better. And I think that we do stand at a precipice with AI, or any technology, or any system that stands to kind of come in place. Even as it's rolling out, we still, as a people, have the ability, as difficult as it may be, as, you know, as burdened as we may be from decades and generations of oppression, suppression, you know, just the pressing down of who we are capable of being, we still have a free will. If we so choose to say, this is not okay, we can make a better thing, a more loving thing, a more caring thing. And I think that as things, you know, just like history, as those patterns have repeated that have not been to our best benefit, there are countless examples and countless other cycles that have been kind of like working congruently, that have been kind of always keeping one end of the spectrum at bay. You know what I mean? Although we could say slavery has evolved in a way at this point, as a people, I feel like maybe that's kind of safe to say that it's not ended, but it definitely has evolved to a certain degree. And I do believe that we as a people, not even a people of color, but at this point, all people, because it's such a global almost fingerprint all over the place, that we've all been affected by it to some degree, that I think that if we were to come together and say, or, you know, create different cycles for ourselves, like, this is not okay, let us make something better, we could very well do that, you know? And I think that's just kind of where my mind is about this. It's just like, whether it was AI, or whether it was, I don't know, a political party, or any kind of social label or social event, you know, is a tactic, right? It's not even, it's a very intense experience. It's a very intense emotion. And yet, I think that in our spirit, it's not our reality, and yet we're constantly working through that each and every day in our own journeys, right?
Right.
I'm not saying like we should not be prepared, or we should not have the intelligence to know how to strategize and things like that and come together. I'm just saying that, you know, fear is often just used as a ploy. It's often not even very real when we take back layers. Even the divisiveness of our races, or the divisiveness of our political affiliations, or even religious beliefs, without stepping on toes or anything. But even those things are their beliefs, their attachments we have here and now. And in a way, it's a beautiful thing to exist together differently and express ourselves differently. And yet those divisions do not have to dictate our destiny or determine how we are to come together to really do really brilliant, beautiful, loving, compassionate things for one another. And I know we all see these things in our everyday lives. You all are, even just these comments, you all are just sharing different things about yourselves that, you know, kind of like show the beauty of uniqueness and how we're one in that. We're
Right.
one in that we're different, right? And I think failure is often touted as this fear thing because, you know, oftentimes I know for myself, I've internalized any kind of failure as like, well, throw me away. I'm done. I can't recover from it. I'm, I'm damaged goods. I'm too broken. I'm too this, and I'll throw my own self away. Oftentimes is what it comes down to, and those are things I've picked up from society. If you look a certain way or you don't look a certain way, or if you are, if you don't have this amount of money or you're not doing these kinds of things, all of those things are these things, well, you failed, and a lot of the times you're not even allowed to even look at your failure and sit with it and give it attention, because it may just be like pain. Pain in our body is often a sign like, I need attention here. I'm not saying I'm trying to hurt you. I'm saying this needs your attention. Can you please check on me, check on my knee, check on this part of your back. It needs your attention, not to, get you and tear you down and be this like totally only a negative thing, right? If we have different perspectives of it. And I
Right.
think that failure can often maybe be a pain response, like, hey, this needs some of your attention. It doesn't need the fear, it doesn't need even your rage and your hate and all of that. There's just some attention that needs to be, I need your attention here for a minute. Can you sit with me? And those are things I've also had to implement in myself, that the things that I have felt were, like dealing with mental illness, it's like, oh, if I didn't have that, I would be so much better. And yet that is, I realize mental illness for myself is oftentimes a really major, big pain response to things that need attention, and in ways that I am not even familiar with or haven't even seen as examples in my community or family or society that show, like, compassion is okay, or gentleness and tenderness and patience and grace is necessary, not
Right.
just okay, but necessary, essential to living, taking a
Grace is
break.
we've
Grace,
talked about that
patience.
a lot.
It's
Yeah.
just as necessary as water at this point, is what I'm thinking, is in my life,
And I want to really,
Yeah.
really quick pause to pull in some of the things that
Yeah.
people are
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
Faith has said early on, and I'm going to look for her comment. She was letting me know that she was diagnosed with Asperger's, which, funny enough, my brother was too,
Yeah.
right? And my brother this is my younger brother, so he's had the same thing. He's lived that life. At some point, I could have him on here to talk to.
Yeah.
But Faith was saying that, at the age of 14, she realized I wasn't going to be good at math, but became a writer because of the fact I learned to fail early. And the thing about failure too is
That's big
failure
faith.
is a teacher. Like, it is a teachable
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's not, we don't have to be afraid, even as a society, with things that do fall down, that will show you there does need to be something else to come from it. There is a lesson to learn. So shout out to Faith
Yeah.
for sharing that. And there was a few more things too. I know Khadijah was saying with the state of the world, like, especially speaking about the robotic stuff, the robotic dogs, and some of the other fears, it'll make you afraid to bring a life into the world. But
I feel you, Khadijah. Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
fear is hard, right? Like, we're living in a time where it's hard, but I also think that it's hard to necessarily imagine better times, because it's like every generation had their is this the end thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, it can be rough to bring kids into the world now, but I mean, I can't imagine bringing kids into the world during the time of slavery at all, or
Yeah.
even post that, or any other like, it's weird, man, because there is no perfect time to bring kids into the world. There is always horrible things happening in the world, while at the same time there are beautiful, loving things happening in the world at the same time. And what I wanted to bring into Riley
Yeah.
definitely wanted me to see this, which is God has already won the war. The Lord is my light and my salvation. I definitely respect that. I definitely respect anybody that, like, you put your faith in God, you put your faith in a higher power. I do respect that. What I also see, though, is along with that, it is our responsibility to show the love of God, right? That is still our choice. So if God has already won the war, if that's already been done, then what's left is our responsibility to love each other. The hardest thing I feel like religiously for people to do. It is easier for people to judge and condemn and point at who the enemy is than it is for them to truly love another person. It's hard enough to love yourself. It's hard enough to love the people in your house, in your neighborhood. Unconditional love is alien. Like, that's not the natural way that we move in the world. We usually treat people good if they treat us good first. We don't have a problem with you if you don't have a problem with me. But as soon as somebody crosses you, that love goes out the window. You could care less what happens to them forever. And that makes it very, 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 very hard for us to come together as people. Because there's nobody righteous enough to step forward first, right? Like, it's hard to be fair. It's hard to there's so many stains on everybody. There's so many reasons for us not to help each other, not to love each other. I mean, when it comes to fears, like, we could get into, y'all have heard about these recent events. I'm gonna watch out with what I say because but the recent events, like, you pull up in somebody's driveway and they're already blasting the moment you pull up in their driveway. We know the man that went and you ring a doorbell and somebody already got the gut. Like, what?
Teenager.
There are so many layers, right? Just the fact that happened is already wild. That's already incredibly sad. The other side of it is that it's reported. And when it's reported and put out there, not saying that we don't need to know the news and what's happening, but there's a lot that is purposely reported to stoke up even more fear, right? So it's like, what? People out here, you go up in the house and they just gonna do that, man. I may need to. It's just, there is so much being done to separate us as a people and have us afraid of one another, right? Yeah.
I think about some of those stories where, there was the quote, like, there could have been, or there may be a racial component, but there wasn't a lot of explanation at the time that I was reading the article. And, that's really interesting. Gifted cited more. I think it's a huge obstacle, right? And so with this, with those stories, and when that quote was put in there, the racial component, and it's just an easy catch-all, for us, like, it becomes a typical story. And yet I think about Theo Von, the comedian I was mentioning earlier, and he is, I think, he's white, and he's Latino, or from half Central American, and he was saying that the area he grew up in, he was poor, and he only lived around white folks and black folks in the area he lived in, and I really appreciated what he was saying about how white privilege, he missed it.
Hey, I got a clip.
Oh, you do? Oh,
I got
okay,
the clip.
okay.
Hey, yeah, we are in a special spot now, right? So let me get this up here for you all to see really quick. Hold on one second, y'all. Some of y'all have seen this. I'm going to just play this because it's a good thing to discuss.
So I grew up in my neighborhood. We didn't have a lot of diversity in my neighborhood. Diversity is always people's talking about it. And we didn't have it. My neighborhood was poor black, poor white. That was our neighborhood, So I didn't feel any white privilege. I know some people had it, man, I knew some motherfuckers with sweaters.
Oh, that's
So I'm just gonna let y'all know, yeah, this is Cross After Dark. Viewer discretion is advised.
But I was 2 tank tops in the winter, okay? And I just didn't feel it, you know? I wish I'd have had some white privilege, dude. Sign me up. But I didn't have it, man. It was just poor black kids, poor white kids, man. And my poor black friends would always be like, man, look what you did to us. And I'm like, dude, do you think I would do all that shit to y'all and then move right next door, bro? Now, we gonna split this plum or not, dog? We're in this together, man. It was hectic sometimes. Fighting with black kids is tough. I don't know if you ever fought a bunch of black dudes,
That's
but
the main thing.
Yeah, but y'all know poverty can hit you anywhere, huh?
And I,
Yeah.
that makes me think about Dr. King's last campaign, the Poor People's Campaign, and there was talk about it, how he realized that in his fight for justice and equality for black folks, he was noticing that there were a lot of poor white folks too that were also, kind of just at the mercy of these systems, and that, just kind of touching on the idea of white privilege, like it was really meant for a certain, people. Even who was considered white for a long time was kind of this lofty thing, and it became arbitrary once Africans were brought in to be slaves. But, the Irish for a long time were not seen as white. The Jews were not seen as white. I don't even know if Italians were really even seen as white, but I know Irish and Jews for a long time were never considered to be at the same equal level as, Europeans, Western Europeans. And so this idea that poverty doesn't see color, which in essence is true. And I had a friend, she was white, and she herself was just very frustrated because it was very hard for her to be able to have access to certain things. And she threw it back on me, you all, people understand you all's situation, but when I try to go, I have a more difficult time. And yet that wasn't the point. The idea was that if I were to kind of comment on her, or say my gut reaction of the pushback I wanted to give, it was clearly poverty and having the lack of the ability to put food in your belly, to guarantee you have shelter for you and your family, especially if you have babies. That is a very real emotion and a real concern and a real despair that in itself is just on a human level. All humans feel that. There's no color in that. And so I think that these divisive tactics of trying to get us to get further apart, pull us further and further apart, so that if somebody drives up in my driveway, I feel compelled to seek out my own justice by ending their life for a mistake that I didn't even get a chance to even let them fix on by themselves, or someone comes to the wrong car, and my retaliation is to punish you for your life. I take your life. Or you ring my doorbell by mistake and I take your life. And all of these were not always had racial components to it. To me, it's just this. What is not said is the grand deficit of love, the global deficit of love, that we don't even take a step back to even give each other a chance to autocorrect, to self-correct. We stand as judge, jury, and the executioner. And I think that is the concern also in the systems. And yet that has been a pattern in our history for all throughout time. And also and that's where I stand on the thing of like, we still stand in a very viable possibility and option to autocorrect ourselves and not let things like race or religion or other things. I just feel like we're not, the times are so pressing at this point that it can be a really, I think, dynamic and beautiful challenge for us to love each other despite those things, in spite of those things, because that's even how we had babies too, right? Even in the most darkest times of African and now African American history, we have slavery. And I'm not saying all those babies were born under like great circumstance. I'm not saying that. However, we could have just ended our story there, and that could have just been it, you know? And yet we have so many examples, even in our own lives, where people persisted, people persevered. We have ancestors that didn't know how to read.
Right.
And some of them stand to be leaders of making schools for us. Some of them still ended up having land that we are benefiting from. Some of them ended up being able to make money and allow us to be able to, have the privilege to make more money, all of this happening.
Now, really quick, there's
Yeah.
3 points. There's 3 really, really interesting points that I want to add to what you're saying.
Sure.
That 2 of them end up being hard conversations to have. I mean, one is an extra one. I'm going to just show this, like, white as a recent social construct. Yeah, I could completely get with that.
Yes.
White, black, these
Yeah.
labels are weird, right? But something that I think is true, what Khadijah is saying, and this is, I'm imagining, and I would feel like it's coming from personal real life experience, right?
Yes.
With the things you've experienced as a black person in America, it can be very hard to even accept or see out of the mouth of somebody else that they don't recognize the privilege in their own lives, right? So she's saying when she thinks of it, when they say that, like, I've never had white privilege, she says they're lying because they were born with it. They can get a job faster than we can. Like, she just posted a while back in the conversation that I think she was being criticized or something was happening with her at her job because of her hair.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So there are unique circumstances that happen to us as black people, and it will happen to every minority group. And what starts to get hard at times, not saying that you're doing this, Khadijah, because this isn't even directed at you, but I personally never like getting in the struggle Olympics or in anything, not even struggle Olympics, but whose oppression is the worst at a certain time, or who has it worse. Like, well, this one is poor, but this one is black and poor. Well, this one is black or woman and poor. Well, this one's black, poor, trans. Well, this one is black, poor, trans, and they have a mental health. Well, this one is mentally, like, there's just so many different labels, and I still feel like a lot of these labels are purposely set up to separate us, right? And I think that with Dr. King, what was so interesting is the time that he was taken out is when he was trying to do a campaign to hit everybody. Like the Poor People's Campaign, that's the time that they stop him. Like, no, now, like, it's already enough that you're trying to help your own people, but don't touch everybody. Don't try to reach and affect everybody. I would say the same for Malcolm X, even. Like, in the time of his life where he starts to expand what he wants to do, it is so weird, man. Sometimes people are okay if your fight only has to do with you and your one group of people. You stay there, you can raise a fist, you can do whatever, but don't be trying to talk to everyone. Don't be trying to gather everyone together. Just Let black people help the black people. Let white people help the white people. Let these people help these. Trans help trans. This help this. Christians only focus on the Christians. Muslims only focus on. I'm like, this to me is a trick.
Yeah.
It's a trick because if we stay separated, we are rarely powerful enough to do anything that can change the world. And the world is so big, it is so vast, and we keep doing these little bitty tiny fights. Black people need love, we need equality, but so does every single other race, gender, and everything out there. And we can separately fight these battles alone, or we can join together and recognize people that do not look like us too. And I think a story that always sticks with me, and I wish I could find the video of this because I talk to Leah about this all the time. There was this black man,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Not that anybody has to do this, right?
Yeah.
But he took it upon himself to go and sit down with somebody in the Klan, right? And have a conversation with them. He was putting his life in danger to do that. But through a simple relationship, just him being able to see who should be the enemy, like he had people taking off their hoods and renouncing the stances that they used to take in their lives. People breaking down in tears because they only saw black people one way, like people who had authority in that realm, just disavow, like just letting go of everything. Like, love to me is more powerful than a lot of things out there. Well, no, I think it's one of the most powerful energies out there, but it is very, very hard to grasp and to understand because it doesn't operate in a fair way, right? Like there was that same guy that did that with the Klan. Some of his own people, when he met with some of his own folks, they were angry. Like, how dare you? How dare you go out and do that? And that's the thing, like we as a society, we still like to move, hey, you only help the people that are good to you. You only sit down with the people that are good to you. You don't make no time for anyone else. And that will keep us separated forever. Yeah.
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 Well said. Well said. Well said. Cletus says, my struggle is your struggle is my struggle, no matter who you are. I really do see that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that, and Khadijah has been like, shared a story where her friend's brother was, I think his life was taken for a very similar incident connected to, or related to something that happened to the other young man about ringing the wrong doorbell.
Yeah.
And once again, it's that thing that young man's struggle is our struggle. Your friend's brother, just like this young man, just like the young lady, just like these other people, all of us that are suffering, and all of you who are even able to relate to me, even though you all may not, some of you may not be dealing with mental illness, and then some of you are, you all have, out of the generosity and the compassion out of your own hearts, have been able to see me and to see my heart. And you didn't have to. You don't have to. And yet you have. And so that is kind of like even an example there of how you all are, we are capable of allowing love to be the healing balm for the most difficult, the most hurtful, the most suffering, the most incredulous sufferings that we can go through, that any human could go through. And yet we see in those ashes, many times the phoenix rises because love comes in there. In this very quiet, unsuspecting way, it comes to cover us. It becomes that gentle wind, that gentle whisper that I love you enough to keep you alive through this, not because I want you to suffer, but because I care for you. That source in us, our spirit there, right? We wake up every day, and I know myself, I have sometimes been upset that I will make it through another day, because it's just like, I don't have anything to give to this day. I don't have not a thing, right? And then, all this stuff going on, or, just other things, right? I mean, pick a day, pick a year. You're going to always have these lists of things, of wild things going on. And it was just like, there's just not even enough to be here. And more sober times, I'm able to see, more mentally sober times, I'm able to see that sometimes just being able to be present is the gift, right? And that, when I'm able to detach from what I need or what I should be doing, the labels and the even like the responsibilities, the job, the this, the that, gotta be this, gotta be that, when I remove it all, kind of like unpack it and remove myself from that, there is a beauty to just be here. And yet that is often what is attacked. We're not even given time enough to be quiet in our minds. That is a luxury, we're always on, always thinking, always stimulated, high stimulated. And, I remember, like, I don't hear it as much now, but, that saying, like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And it's like, that is not the same. Sleep you can wake up from, death you can't.
Right.
And I've never been able to be in that mode, that like hustle hard, grind hard mode, like, in it to win it. I'm just like, okay, where can I just sit down and like take my time and do this? And yet our society's like, no, go, 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 go. You. And then if you do something for you, how selfish of you. You should have been thinking about the other person or thinking about the bigger picture. And there's just never this time where you're able to just be and
Right.
be for a moment of time where you're able to like not even have to think about what being is, to just be, that is often what is stolen from us. That is often what is attacked and destroyed and harbored on, which comes in the form of not only policy and systems and AI, but illness, broken families. There's a difference between deciding that you are going to live your life a different way because you're trying a healthier way for yourself versus my family is broken because we're all suffering under this. Our ability to be is taken from us and we're so traumatized. We're so sick. We're so burdened. We're so, trying to make, bring food to the table and all that stuff. You don't have time to like think about being, that even sounds like a luxury. And yet that is what we were in the womb. Even our babies are just being, and yet they're growing and developing and thriving in our wombs by just being. And soon as we come out, there's expectation. Let me put this bright light in front of your face. Let me put put these needles and tap you really hard and like get the process going. Processes just starts, and your ability to be is just automatically taken. And a lot of times, even how our babies are put into this process, we don't even get to choose, right? The increased amount of C-sections that have, often are deemed not even necessary, right?
It says, hurry this thing up, get them out. Like,
hey, hurry,
get in school, make some money, fall in line, and the process starts
survival
all over
mode,
again. Yes,
survival mode, Supreme. Exactly. Everything is survival, even when you're privileged.
Right.
Or even have a little bit. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
You're in the same process in a way.
Right.
And it just never stops. And I feel like all of these things are constantly, stimulating, overstimulating. And, it although there's a goodness to being informed, but not being so, kind of like drawn in, attached, to where now you're thinking about this thing and you're thinking about that thing. And we are often, our energy is like scattered all over the place that we don't even get to say so of what is it like when I have my own energy to myself.
Look, and you see this, right? It took them over 40 years to
Oh,
finally get the
yeah.
knowing that I can wake up and look at the day and just be. Am I human being and not
Being,
listening to the lie that I have to be a human doing?
doing.
Because the
Yes,
doing ends up being
yes.
a distraction from
Yeah.
being.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. That's just, yeah. Yeah. And I always kudos to all of you that, you'll say like I'm trying to get there, I'm not there yet, I'm working on it, and I'm like I meet you all the way there.
Yes.
I'm there in every level with you because it comes and goes, right?
And that's why we talk a lot about grace, so we can give
Yeah.
that grace to ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'll be
Yeah.
the hardest on ourselves. Why am I not this and that? And by this time in my life and by this age, I'm supposed to have this. It's like, it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. And even like I think I don't know if I was telling you this, like even in my freedom, like when I think about just what it means to be a free person, sometimes I'm just like, oh, that's kind of difficult
Right.
because I'll start to like, well, what do you need? Okay, well, what would help you feel good about your freedom? And then I still have the list of things that I think I need in order for it to feel free. In order, like that. Okay, well, I probably should have some land. Oh, okay, I don't know what I'm doing with that. And then I would want to build a house because that would be great because then I would have the thing and then I would need this and then I would need, and it's like, girl, like it's okay. Just if you could just be free in you, no matter where or how you are, that's at least that's a part of the ceremony, right? Like that's a part of the process too.
Yeah.
I still have to meet myself in the present moment and still love myself and the freedom I have in the circumstance because all we have is now, right? There's the thing of like the saying that there is no such thing as time. There is no then, there is no there. There is just this moment you have right now. And in this moment right now, my hair is short, and I want it to be like flowing down my legs and all this stuff, right? Or I would like to lose 10 pounds or eat better, and I would like to do this and that, and it's like, okay, but in this moment, it's not there, but can you love yourself anyway? Can you still look in the mirror and love this human being?
Yeah. Being is not failure.
Yeah.
Having a destination you want to get to and not being there yet is not failure.
Yeah.
Right? The process and the journey of things, all that. Yes. I am eating Pringles.
Yeah.
Like
Done.
eat your Pringles,
Don's
Dawn.
like,
That is
yeah.
not failure. That is happy. That's joy. That is true joy. I'm gonna applaud that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All of y'all, because y'all are giving some incredible responses,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that that's what it is even right now. Like as we talk about AI and all these different things that are coming, or happening now, can we still love the person we're looking back at, who's reflected back at us? And can we also look at that person when when we show up in a different form, whether it's, whoever's behind the systems and, whoever reflects a belief or something that we don't agree with, can we still have compassion and grace even for that person, and I think like that's the challenge. And from that, it stands to open up inspiration for how do we come up with improvements and solutions and things like that without it being, once again, without detaching from the able to be, and also having the balance of being able to do too, right? Because
Yes.
that's the beauty of being human. You can do even as a being.
Yes. And now something to be real about, right? Like the difference I'm gonna say about our family, not saying that it's not everybody, oftentimes on social media, you really are trying to put your best foot forward. Even when we tell you all and share tips and things in our mind, I just want to just clearly make it known that it doesn't mean that we're not struggling with it at the same time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So when I see C saying that it is difficult for me to exercise compassion and grace for myself, Leah can definitely relate.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We can, like, and I don't even want to say we can all. It is like, that is not easy. That compassion and grace are not easy things to give.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To anybody, let alone yourself. But starting with yourself is still like, that is the core of where it begins. And there still is a process of just, okay, I'm gonna try to put a little bit, just a little bit. I don't think I deserve, what has that process been? What is the honest process of learning to give yourself grace and compassion?
Well, it started with the thought of, but you're here. You're here. You're alive. You having a beating heart. You have blood flowing through your brain, your veins that carries knowledge from the beginning of this beautiful womb called the earth. You are here. The fact that you're able to even share that and be vulnerable shows the heart that you have. There is no race in this.
I know that's right.
Compassion, grace, there is no destination. There's no pressure. There's no need for that because you're already embedded with that. It's a matter of you giving yourself permission moment by moment, Planck unit by the smallest measure of time or energy or anything. In the microscopic moments of time, you have the ability, if you so choose, to give yourself compassion and grace, little by little, just like LaGuardia said. And it doesn't have to be the whole thing. What does that even mean?
Right.
We're constantly growing and evolving. And in that process, there are things that come up that are like, oh, I thought I was over that part. Or this is completely new for me and I don't like it. And, sometimes I have to let the negativity have space. When I allowed the negative stuff to kind of just have space to rant and vent, it seemed to help in some way because for a very long time, I was not only warring with mental illness, I was also warring with myself. And I have these very strict parameters in which I am allowed to function and live and do and be and all this other stuff. And I kind of had to give space for like, what if it's just trying to like, if I treat it like a child, and you think about like in education when they say the child with the most problems is often the child in the need of the most love, right?
Yeah.
And I started applying that. And that allowed me, when I would let it say its mean, horrible things, it eventually got tired, right? And, sometimes I'm okay to hear it. And sometimes it's like, that's enough. Like, no more today. I'll come back to you tomorrow, but I can't take it today, and the learning of being quiet, and being quiet, I mean, like, I will say things like, it's just a wave, this, these thoughts and all that, this anxiety, the paranoia, the feeling, all the stuff, it's just a wave. It's just a wave. And I'll literally direct my eyes to like, oh, there's a painting on the wall. I like the way, or I'll do stuff like with the girls. I like the way their hair looks, and I'll have it like spark up another conversation. So compassion and grace looks like a process, but it looks like a loving, a working process in love, a working relationship with yourself. How you feel when you are talked to by people who you feel really good around. And I would even invite you to let those experiences guide you, I would ask if you have felt compassion and grace from other people. Have you received it? And what did it feel like? How do they sound when it felt like it was okay for you to be like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll receive that, And to start to even model that in your mind and how you talk to yourself, So those little things, the people that we see around us are often reflections, little sparks, not only of like, creator and all of that, but also us, right? Because we truly are in this, we are one, we are in this together. And so when we see people who trigger us to feel a negative way or trigger us to feel positive, I think that it's not about copying that, but modeling that for yourself when we're dealing with our own things too, Yeah.
Well said. And so this was an incredible conversation with y'all tonight.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time, man. We like spending time with y'all.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is our first week going live almost every day of the week. Like I mean, Tuesday to Thursday is what it was. Now it's going to be from Monday through Thursday. How has it felt? Well, Leah
I wasn't here on Tuesday.
Leah only came once, but that's fine because she's here now. Well, this is the first live, right? No.
No, the one last
Tuesday.
week. Last
Last week.
yeah.
Right. She was here for the one
Thursday.
last week. How has it been so far for you?
It's been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been nice. I mean, you all are incredible. You all are just, I can't wait to meet you all in person. Wait to see and meet you all and have these discussions in person. I can't wait to hug everybody.
She really would too. She would
Yeah.
stay. Yep. She would hug every single one of y'all.
As long
Yep.
as it's okay with you all.
Right.
I can't wait to hug you all and just see your faces and, you all are wonderful, wonderful people. Thank you all so very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna do next week, there is a feature in here where we can invite some of y'all in. So
Yeah.
there are going to be times where we can have like a small panel discussion and kind of get into some topics and just kind of build on it. And so y'all know you're going to get the girls twice a week, and then you will get us talking about adult stuff twice a week too. So Mondays through Thursdays, or Mondays and Wednesdays, it's going to be me and the girls. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it'll be Leah and I. So, hey, much love to y'all. Hope you have a great night, and we will see y'all soon. Any final words from you?
Thank you all for the comments. I've seen like people who've been chiming in have been like consistent. Supreme Scientist, Khadijah, C. Brackens, Dawn's a Light, Cleetith, all of you all just, and there's names I'm missing, but thank you all for staying and inputting and everything, because it's just so much insightful stuff. So thank you all so very much. Yeah.
Much love to all of y'all. Have a great night.
Yeah. Yes.